Mr. Wegmans here in the building. You're checking in from Wegmans, it sounds like.
Yes. Yes.
Well, very nice to meet you, man. I'm Kevin LoVullo.
Kevin, nice to meet you. Great drum set, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. Got Chucky here. Are you a drummer too?
No, I'm a bass player.
Bass player. Well, I can't wait to see you tomorrow. You're gonna be playing.
Yeah, it's cool. So you're up in Buffalo?
Yeah, up in Buffalo. Have you guys played out here before in Buffalo?
No, we have. We've been pretty much exclusively Rochester at this point, and actually, the interesting thing is that because kind of a long story, but the gist of it is that when we became a publicly performing fundraising band, I started looking for local community organizations to work with, and so we've never really, if we were just booking ourselves as a a weekend band, bar band, we would probably by now be looking at Syracuse and Buffalo, but because we're connecting ourselves to the local organizations, we haven't really built a bridge to other towns yet. We have one example where we've done a couple of shows with a charity that provides birthday presents to city school kids, and they have a chapter in Utica. So we're talking about that, but we haven't really had the opportunity. So maybe this might be the opportunity to expand our horizons.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I asked no one and myself know a few people here. Would love to have the Dawgs come through Buffalo, New York, the city of good neighbors. Well,
yeah, I love it there.
Awesome. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. Right here, right now, we got Steve Ball of the Dawgs, and I just got 6 cases of Liquid Death, sponsor of I Ask No One here. Liquid Death. It is it's a straight sparkling water. Murder your thirst. Cheers and cheers to 40 years almost at Wegmans.
Yep, 40 years.
40 years, man. Wow.
You haven't been alive 40 years, have you?
No, 7 years short of that, actually.
Yeah.
And but Wegmans, Fortune 500 company. We're gonna have viewers view this video that aren't familiar with Buffalo, but any chance I get, man. It's one of the most underrated food towns in the world. That goes for Rochester too, in Western New York. And Wegmans is a really big part of that. Personally, I lived on both coasts, been around the world, and nothing compares to Wegmans. What's your role there right now?
I'm a supply chain systems manager.
Okay. And you didn't start that way, right? Would you start back in the 50s?
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, basic, like everyone did, part-time to full-time through college and that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's been great. It's been great.
Have you met Danny Wegman?
Yeah, he's incredible. So, he's present and connected to the stores and connected to the employees. It's fantastic. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the company, Wegmans, if ever you're in Western New York, I mean, they're in Brooklyn, they're in Maryland. I think someday be countrywide. How cool would that be? And it'd be well deserved, Wegmans worldwide. And what kind of advice, or was there any piece of advice or information that Danny Wegman gave you back then or recently that stands out to you?
No, I think that the what I would say is sort of a general theme is that we need to, it's people first. I guess that would be the way I would say. People, if we take care of our people, and those of us that are managers take care of our people, then our people will take care of our customers, and so it's really about the people as much as the great products. But anyway, so
yeah. Well, again, if you ever to our viewers, ever get a chance to go to Wegmans, you have to do it. If I haven't said it enough already, we were just talking about your participation with the Dawgs and your band and the community, and we're definitely going to get into that. But today's quotes of the day, I like to start off with a little quote of the day, Steve. Rob Halford, of Judas Priest, he was quoted actually a week or two ago. He said, "Most people in England are retired at 50. But not you." And you're still rocking it at Wegmans, and you're still playing out with your band and with your friends. So fill us in, man. When were the Dawgs formed, and Are these friends from way back when?
Yeah. So, talking about work, about 6 or 7 years ago, um, talking with some guys in my office, folks that worked one office space or one cube away, and knew them for years, but never really knew that they were actually musicians. And so we found commonality, and I played bass, this one played guitar, so there was a drummer down the hall. One of the things that Wegmans is very, very supportive of is the United Way, and so we came up with the idea of putting a band together that would be to raise money for a United Way event within Wegmans. And so we did a once-a-year event inside Wegmans for a number of years, and that's all we did. And at that point, I had stopped playing for probably 20 years, really, for the better part of 20 years. And I was, I'd get the bass out of the closet for that one show. We'd do a little practicing, and then back in the closet we'd go till next year when we'd have the next annual United Way event. And then about in 17, we said, there's an opportunity for us to do things beyond just within. We like playing. We have a lot of fun doing it. And so let's consider doing some public shows for fundraising. And so at that point, we sort of embarked on the kind of the incarnation of the Dawgs that is now. A couple of the guys that, were Wegman employees decided not to continue on as we sort of ventured out publicly. And we've added new people that aren't. But we are all friends. In fact, the guitar player and singer keyboard player are brothers. And so it's a very tight knit group. We all understand kind of the mission, what we're trying to accomplish. So it works out really well. And so for the last, I don't know, maybe 2.5 or 3 years, we've been doing about a once a month clip of a different community partner event each month. So raising money for, for example, this month will be tomorrow will be National Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And so each month there's a different organization we partner with, and we do 10 to 12 shows a year. So
that's really, really special, man. American Foundation Suicide Prevention. That's how I was connected with you. The show's tomorrow, Russell's Bar and Grill. I will be there. My fiance will be there, Ashlyn. So I'm looking forward. And we may have a couple friends from Rochester come and join. But, I think it's really special to what you guys are doing. You got the music and you're connecting with the community through foundations and raising money for a good cause. Amen to you, my brother. And, for every new subscriber to this here podcast, if you find, and to our viewers, you're finding any value, a like, subscribe, always appreciated. I make a little donation to the Foundation Suicide Prevention. And, while we're talking about that, I was touched by it. My cousin passed away from suicide in the 90s, Mark Donovan, St. Joe's Collegiate Institute alumni, and a very good friend of mine, Mike Holden, in 2018. And he was a big music fan. In fact, this is one of his shirts I'm wearing, a little velvet.
There you go. Old school.
Yeah. I had showings this morning, and I was blasting some Lou Reed Metallica Lulu record from 10 years ago. Very, very good stuff. But
awesome.
Yeah, it's to have your participation in something like this. I look forward to get up there and chat a little bit about it and introduce you guys, what have you. But
good.
Depression has no face, and there's no stigma attached to this podcast. And while it's the topic of this month with Dawgs and your boys, is there anyone that you've lost, may I ask, that's committed suicide?
I haven't, fortunately for me and my family, I haven't been touched directly. Certainly, I think there's probably no one that can say that they don't have someone that they have arm's length reach from that they've experienced, and then I have that as well. But I think the thing for me is, I found Gina, who is our point person for tomorrow night's event for American Foundation Suicide Prevention, and she has certainly been touched by this, and I think she has sort of brought me into the reality of what this is, and so we couldn't be happier to be doing this for our second annual.
That's really cool. Second annual. I spoke with Gina this morning, and RIP, her son Nicholas passed away October 2017. Honoring Nick and honoring Mike Holden and our fallen friends and family, and rocking out and having a good ass time. I think that's what it's going to be all about, man. I'll be wearing one of Mike's shirts tomorrow. And, you guys like to keep it fun and interactive up there on stage. You really pride yourselves on that. If you just want to fill us in, like what's the Dawgs vibe when you guys hit the stage tomorrow?
Well, one of the things that we've done, we've worked really hard to do is craft a set list that's recognizable and for all. And, I used to say that if somebody asked me how to describe the music that we play, I would say, we're 4 cheap tuxedos away from being a wedding band, and what I mean by that is it's fun, interactive music. We rock it out a little bit, there's no question, but the idea is to appeal to a broad audience and have the music be the basis for an fun time, interactive event. We do some things. We have some contests. We do a name that tune contest. We have a couple of flat screens we put up with lyrics and videos along with our act. We're pretty mobile out into the crowd and try to get out and do a little dancing with the audience and just have fun because, we're not trying to present ourselves as virtuosos. We're trying to be, sort of part of contributing to part of the night. And hopefully, people do 2 things. They donate. And secondly, and this is important, and it's not something that we necessarily knew at the beginning, but so if the most important thing is to raise funds for the community partner, 1A to me is always helping to raise awareness, and especially with a cause like this. What I mean by that is, tomorrow, you'll be there. You mentioned that you'll be, saying a few words, and that's exactly what we're looking for, because that crowd, there's a portion of them that really won't know about your organization, or about the work that you're doing. And we find that every time we play. So absolutely, we want people to, leave having had fun. We want them to leave with their pockets a little lighter because they've contributed to the event. But we also want them to leave knowing more about what, in this case, you guys are all about, and the incredible work that you do and how important your work is. And so that's a piece of it too. And that's one of the things that sort of has evolved over time. So again, just to answer your question, interactive as we can be, contests, fun, flat screens, videos, dancing with the crowd, that kind of thing. And the music itself is a good basis for that. So,
any stage dives allowed? No, I'm just kidding. It's all right.
Sure. We haven't had one yet, but why not, right?
I've done that once in my life. I usually like to go right up close to the rail, and sometimes I'll mosh or whatever, but I love all kinds of music, and I love live music, and live music is back, post COVID. It's getting back slowly, but surely, and it's going to be a real treat. And just to build on the AFSP, Steve, we have this Project 2025 going on, and we want to decrease the suicide rate by 30% by 2025. And me making that short 2-hour drive, whatever it is that I could do to help. And
that's awesome.
That's what it's all about. So today's fact of the day, I wanted to share with you. You've been at Wegmans for 40 years, so we're going back to the 70s here. But Led Zeppelin, their 4th record turned 50 this week.
Wow.
Do you remember purchasing that back then, or did you ever see Led Zeppelin in your life?
Never. I do own that, but in album form. But I didn't get it hot off the press. I think I found it a little bit later on. But yeah, what a classic album, right?
Hell yeah, man. I wanted to show you something, and you're a bassist, so this is not John Paul Jones, but I've showed this just a few musicians here. This is not behind glass, and it really should be. I'm watching this for my brother Leonard, but Page and Plant signed this guitar, and I just wanted to show this off to you. Little authenticity there, but yeah.
Be careful with that.
I know. Don't breathe on it. So I'm going to put this right back down. I wanted to show that to you.
That's fantastic. Very cool.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, their cover of When the Levee Breaks closes the record. Love that one. I mean, Stairway to Heaven, Battle of Evermore, any of those songs jumping out at you that you just...
The tune that, everybody is, obviously Stairway to Heaven is kind of the, the benchmark of classic rock. But to me, Black Dog was really, it not only did it kind of kick the album off, but for me, it was sort of like the high water mark as I learned how to play, getting to the point where I could play that song. And it's more recent than I'd care to admit, but that song is, it's presented a challenge to me in my playing, and so that's kind of the song that I think about in that album.
Badass. Are we gonna get some Black Dog tomorrow? Maybe.
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
What kind of bands we talking that you're going to be covering? Are you Def Leppard and Boston?
So our first set we call party music, right? And we do the things you think about. Shout. We do Moni Moni. We do What I Like About You. We do YMCA. Not to sort of break open the whole set, but Mambo Number 5. So stuff to really get the crowd up and moving. And then the second set we call it our rock anthem set. So we'll do like Rock and Roll All Night and I Love Rock and Roll. Do a Saturday Night Sorry for Fighting, and, a more rocking set, nothing heavy at all. And if you come and see us, you'll know that we don't play loud. We want to try to play to the crowd. And so
Nothing like you talk about interactive. Nothing like standing back, maybe a beer or just sitting. Whatever. Live music is back, and it's really, really special. So
absolutely.
Any songs, Steve, that you look forward to play tomorrow, or just in general jamming with your buddies?
I think that the question is, I've had this question before. It's like, what's your favorite song of the night to play? And I think the favorite, I would sort of tilt that question a little bit. And to me, my favorite part of the night isn't really a song per se, but about the middle of the first set is when we ask, and I believe you mentioned you'd be helping us out, the charity to come up and the community partner to come up and say a few words. And so that, as I mentioned, that interaction piece and helping the audience understand what that night is really all about, that's part of it. And then after that, just leading right out of that, what will be your piece is when I get the opportunity to introduce the band. And it's a special thing for me because the guys are they're just great players, and I'm kind of honored to be part of them. So those two things together, that back-to-back two components of the evening, are probably my the most special. Let's just say that.
That will be a special Friday night out for us, Ashley and I, and for you guys. And you talk about introducing the band. So if you just want to introduce the band right now, even though they're nowhere to be found within your screen, the two brothers' names, what are their names?
Yeah. So Al Germano is keyboards and guitar, and rhythm guitar, harmonica, and lead vocals. And Lou Germano is lead guitars extraordinaire and background vocals. Drums is Dwayne Draper, all-time biggest Buffalo Bills fan for those out there and he's our drummer too. So four guys, been together a couple years in this format, and just having fun with it.
Don't be afraid if you hear any Bills chants in between songs, right from drummer to drummer,
You got it.
Hey, or something like that. It'd be fun. Really looking forward to that. So Dawgs, though, Dawgs, where'd you guys get that name from? What's the motivation there?
So we it's an interesting story, actually. Well, maybe not, but for me,
hear it.
So I mentioned that we started as an internal work band, raising money for United Way within Wegmans, and we worked in the distribution supply chain division. So that was the business unit that this event happened within. So somebody coined us the distribution dogs, kind of digging in and getting it done. We're working back there, and that stuck, right? But then once we became a sort of a public focused band, we dropped the distribution part and just became the Dawgs. So we sort of had this dual branding thing going on, where it was in work we had one band name, out of work the other, but very similar and recognizable between them. So and you know what, the logo's simple, and I think it just it's not hard to think about. You recognize it, and it seems to work for us. We're just guys that are grinding it out and having fun. So we're Dawgs, right?
Right on, man. 40 years working at Wegmans, you go rock out a little bit with your friends. And I think with a simple logo, I think is best for bands.
Yeah.
Recognizable, kind of like the IANO logo. But man, the first show you ever attended, a rock show. Do you remember where?
I do. I'll never forget. 1976 Aerosmith Rocks tour.
Rocks.
Yeah. It was a great show. It was unbelievable. I mean, I was
bow,
18 years old. And
Rochester?
yeah, oh yeah, War Memorial. Yep, quite an experience.
What do you remember about that night? Were you with a parent or your brother? Or?
A couple buddies. You know, it was a standard to get dropped off. One mom drops off, one picks up. You know how that goes, and just try to be good and just the idea that there was like this first experience of seeing this, Steven Tyler actually there. Like that was probably for me like, oh my God, like this isn't a record, it's not on TV. It's here he is in Rochester, 200 feet in front of me. It's just a cool feeling, first time. So
yeah, no YouTube back then. Not too many magazines showing bands. I can only imagine. We're talking about Led Zeppelin, and even 1976. What comes to mind is Kiss's "Rock and Roll Over" and Destroyer records.
sure.
It's a huge, huge year for rock and roll. Let's see. Blue Oyster Cult had a live record, "On Your Feet or On Your Knees." That was like 90. That was 75, and I'm just drawing a little blank here, but I'll include below what are some marquee records from 1976. That's a really cool year for that to be your first show. Was that your best show you ever attended before? Or?
In the way that it was so new to me, right? And
Right.
that from that perspective, it'll always, kind of have a spot, right? I think that there's a kind of a 2,000 seat theater in Rochester. It was called the Auditorium Theater. It's still there. I think it's renamed. And I saw two shows there over a span of time. One of them was Kansas, like around the Left Overture, Carry On Wayward Son time, and they just blew me away. They were unbelievable. And then the first time I saw Dave Matthews in the same venue, but years later, again, sort of these bands kind of coming up and just really honest and just tremendous musicianship. Those were just really good shows. So
when I think of Rochester, New York, and you get a lot of band shirts, and you check out band shirts all around, the Main Armory.
Yeah,
good times in there, I'm sure, over the years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's some great venues, just like Buffalo. Montage is a great rock and roll venue. Anthology is a great rock and roll venue in Rochester. There's some great clubs that really support live music too, that have supported us. That's the other thing, is that I have to sort of give a shout out, I think, to the venues themselves, and having us when they could be making money probably a little bit differently that night if it wasn't a charity event. They're contributing themselves. They're opening up their house to us. Bunsey's, Iron Smoke Distillery, Russell Station tomorrow night. These places, really doing these kinds of events. It's one thing to have a charity event once in a while. It's another thing when you're on kind of a monthly cadence of that. We do one once a month someplace, and we have a sort of a plan, where we'll each one of these will hit once or twice or three times a year, and so having them open the doors to us is really special too. So
yeah, making the Dawgs presence known here in Buffalo, New York, I think it'd be pretty cool. I think that's on the horizon for 2020.
That'd be great. Love to come up and do an event with you there. Love to.
Yeah, I'd
cool.
Be honored, blow that up, get family and friends over, and get the word out about you guys. And we know some bands too, maybe do a
sure
double headliner or whatever.
Absolutely.
So you ever see Metallica before live?
No, in fact, I was just thinking about this, and the closest that I can say that I've come, and I guess I'm not proud, because that's a band that everybody should have, in their holster at least once. But the closest I ever came to Metallica was I worked for Megadeth for a couple of shows, and so with the Dave Mustaine Metallica connection, they're kind of I guess family, if you want to call it that. So my closest ties to a Metallica show was actually Megadeth.
What were you doing with Dave Mustaine?
I was at the time working kind of stage crew technical stuff. So that show happened to come into town, and a bunch of us get hired to support that. So
90s, 80s, 2000s, do you remember?
Probably 90s. Yeah, probably 90s. Mid 90s maybe.
Any interaction with the band at all?
They were not pleasant.
Oh, really?
They were that was in his day. He's had his share of a reputation, and I think that probably was where it came from back in that day.
Yeah. I own a bunch of their CDs. It's just I think I would like them a little bit more if he was a little less of a dick.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm hearing good things now, but back in those days, I think, which is where reputations are made, was a different story for sure. And that was firsthand, but they were great. They rocked out hard. So
Mustaine, you're a fucking god. I would love to have you on IANO one, and got the new record coming out. Looking forward to hearing that too. But man, if you were to jam any song with any band now, you know, dead or alive, what would it
yeah,
be?
yeah.
You know,
It's
bass.
I think that for me, a lot of times I need to sort of dial it all the way back to the beginning, right? That's kind of how I operate with some of this stuff. And I think I probably would want to do, like, honestly, like Beatles Cavern Club, and maybe it's Twist and Shout or something like that. And, have Paul grab his Rickenbacker six string and let me play bass for a few minutes. And I think that probably taking it all the way back to see how it began. If I was going to be able to dial the time machine back, that's probably what it would be.
Twist and Shout. Are you gonna be dancing tomorrow at all, or?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not a pretty sight, but Kev, but I do what I do. So
I'll get
yep.
the video out and get you.
There you go.
Blow that up a bit. Well, awesome, man. Yeah, right here we got Steve Ball of the Dawgs of Rochester, New York, and it's going to be a fun time tomorrow, man. We'll be talking soon. But any last words about the band and who you got coming up, foundations or support that you have coming up in December and into 2022?
We've got thank you for that. We've got an event called Julianne's Journey that supports Cure Childhood Cancer Association in Rochester, out at Bunsey's on the east side of Rochester in December. We're back at Russell Station again in January to do a show with a partner called One Soldier at a Time. It's veterans outreach organization. February, we're back at Bunsey's again in Webster, working with the Pirate Toy Fund, which is a really interesting historical kind of organization in Rochester, collecting toys for children at Christmas time originally, and now they do that all year long. So it's a variety of different veterans, childhood cancer, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. We're just kind of, doing what we can where we can, and come on out and hit us up. We got a Facebook page. We have an Instagram page. Dogs for a Cause is the Instagram page. The Dawgs is the Facebook page. We have a website, dogsforacause.com. Grab that, check that out, and I think the important thing for us is just that. For us to take away those two things, right? Like try to create some fundraising for the partners we're working with, and try to help them drive some awareness into what they're doing, so people recognize it and hopefully jump on board to help in other ways too, beyond just at the event. So,
well, it's the month of November here, and my attitude is gratitude. I want to thank you not only for joining me and taking the time after your shift, or maybe during your shift, and you're breaking the rules a little bit. But it really means a lot to have that fellow musician. I jam a bit, but fellow music fan highlighting mental health and eliminating that stigma. So I look forward to continue that tomorrow. And to our viewers, a little like or subscribe if you enjoyed what you saw. Really appreciate it. But stay happy, stay healthy, stay hungry, and stay heavy. Steve, thanks so much, man.
Take care.
Later.